Welcome back to Mindfully Amplified. My name is Jasmine Vializ. I'm so happy that you are here in this space. We are committed to personal growth and cultural exploration, mindfully amplifying and tuning in and turning up the volume on your life and business. And today we get to have a conversation with someone that I have been connected to for some years, and I've been alongside to watch and witness the way that her life has shifted and the way that she's taking that wisdom and allowing others to be held and supported on their journeys as well. So today I'm excited to welcome Mandi Murrow. Mandi, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. This is so exciting.
So my guest today, Mandi Murrow, is a certified wellness coach, yoga instructor, and the founder of Rooted Holistic Wellness. Mandi blends mindfulness, functional wellness, and she helps women reconnect with their bodies and creating a sustainable and soul-led transformation for their life and experience. With over 8 years of experience in health coaching and more than 7 years in yoga and somatic practices, her work focuses on hormone balance, intuitive eating, nervous system support, and helps women truly understand their bodies and how their bodies communicate to them. What I love about Mandi's story is that it's one of constant and consistent evolution. So she's reinvented herself time and time again. And I've been excited to be a part of that journey and being able to witness you transform yourself. So from a hairstylist and single mom to a wellness career as a business owner, a farmer, holistic health coach, she has walked through loss, motherhood, entrepreneurship, rebirth, and she continues to rise. So today we are rising through reinvention with Mandi Murrow. So excited that you're here, Mandi. Thank you for being willing to come on to Mindfully Amplified and talk about your journey and ways that you can support other people through this experience that you have had through these many years. So Mandi, tell me a little bit about why this journey has looked like this for you. This looking back on all of the reinventions, what has your story really been about?
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've loved watching all the things that you've done over the years, and I feel so honored to be here with you. I think that someone said something the other day that really stuck with me, and she said, no matter what's happened to you or around you or with you, you just continue to be resourceful. And I think that that's a big thing for me, to be resourceful, because we've been through COVID. I've been a single mom, been a hairdresser just behind the chair, and then becoming a single mom, I decided I wanted to open my own business in the midst of all of that. And then, owning a salon for a long time, I saw that there was a need for other things. People would say, I have hair loss, or I can't lose weight, or, I have this really bad dry skin. And I'm like, gosh, there's got to be something else happening. So then I created the health coaching version of me. And then when, we outgrew Plaza Midwood and needed some space, I said, I want to do a farming business where we can do the next level. So I think it's about being resourceful and, what is it? See a need, fill a need. I think that's where it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, opening your eyes to what's around you and really saying, you know what, this is a true need, and here are some possibilities and ways that I could use my skills and experience to fill that need. So I love that you said yes to that. And what a cool thing. I feel like that this interesting life of a hairstylist is that you're kind of a hybrid of a bestie and a therapist, and also someone who they're looking to for support and showing up in their best, most authentic self, and like that coming with like just the exterior, but it goes so much deeper. I feel like we become so vulnerable when we're sitting in the chair of our hairstylist, that like it opens up the gateway to have a real authentic conversation, and like you being there to listen to like those deeper parts that maybe aren't necessarily coming to the surface of their relationships. So tell me a little bit about, like, when you think about this series of reinventions that you've had, what do you think is that kind of underlying theme that ties it all together? I know you just mentioned something that feels very real and true, which is like, right, the see a need, feel a need, and really, I mean, see a need, fill a need, and really allowing like this kind of essence of yourself to come through while you're witnessing other people's journeys. So tell me a bit more about what you find that kind of underlying tone being.
I really do think that the common thread for me was letting go of ego. I think that was seeing my marriage slip away made me realize I needed to do this. me needing to be there for my child at the time, I needed to do this other thing. So it also was just so humbling to say, okay, I've lost this thing.
Mm.
I need to create this new version of myself, this better version of myself, but this more flexible
Mm.
version of myself that can flow and ebb and flow with the changes. Because if you're so rigid and you're so caught up in your ego, like, or you become a victim of a circumstance, then you can't go with the flow. You can't change with the tides. And I think that that's been the biggest thread, is letting go of my ego, knowing, listening to the universe or the higher power, listening to my own inner knowing and saying, okay, that didn't work out. That's okay. We're just going to keep moving forward, because sitting in it doesn't really get you anywhere.
Mhm.
But you need to have time to grieve a loss. Obviously, like when I lost my business at the salon and decided to sell, as Plaza Midwood, they sold my building, and I said, do I open another business and do this again and spend all the money and rebuild, or do I move on? And that's when we decided to sell our house and move to Matthews and sell the business. And it was interesting. I said, it was a big loss for me. It was a very big moment, but I couldn't grieve it until after I got through it. So I think that that was the thing. It's like, leave your ego at the door, listen to your gut, and then create the next big thing.
Leave the ego at the door is so powerful, and it impacts everything, right? It's like when we start to acknowledge how much our ego causes us to stay stuck and stagnant and like attached, clinging to these things that are not supposed to be there anymore, right? It's like we love and appreciate, some of us love and appreciate seasons, but when we like have to be real and honest with ourselves about the fact that a season has come to an end, it's often easier to be like, no, 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 I don't want it to go. And that's all ego, right? It's all ego. And so that's the power of reinventions. It's like recognizing that from the ashes of all the things that you've released and destroyed, let go of, right? You're just like, okay, it's time for that to go. I'm going to let something else come forth, and be open to that, like what mystery of what will come, and being curious about that and not resistant to it. Because in the resistance is like where we get all the pain, right?
Yeah.
That's the part that gets scary. But so this is the cool thing, that because you have experience in these seasons of reinvention and recognizing that the ways in which you can take from past experience and allow something new to come forth, that's what's really powerful about your experience and the ways that you can support folks as a coach. Because I do think that the attachment, and this is, from me having worked with others, but also my own journey, the attachment that time that we can have even on our wellness journey has to do with that identity from our past selves, right? We're just like so attached to that past self, and really the awareness that someone like yourself as a coach could provide, and also just like that outside voice that says, hey, but you know that this is what's possible on the other side, right? Instead
Right.
of being like, well, what was, it isn't anymore. And it just feels so, all the things. And so I love that, you can take what you have experienced in your own journey and your own healing experience, and like really start to kind of say, like, how can I help people navigate that? And so I do want to talk a little bit about that, because you have a really cool way of serving your clients. I think that it's super unique, because there are folks who focus heavily on diet and some lifestyle sprinkled in, but there isn't this kind of, I would say, a holistic approach that thinks about both the mind, body, and spirit components coming together as the foundation of supporting your wellness journey. And so I want to understand how you got to this place. So where did you start this journey of helping women understand their bodies? You're like, okay, like I was doing their hair, they were telling me all the things. Now I'm over here growing some things. Tell me how that all came together for you.
Oh my gosh, I think everybody has their own, what I call the gateway drug to health and wellness or better understanding of self. And mine was yoga. Some people's is food. And I mean, mine was food too, but mine was yoga and food. Some people's are, they start doing breath work first. Some people's are, whatever it is. But for me, mine was yoga, and I hated yoga because I actually had to like be in my body. And it was so hard to be present. But once I started breathing, and once I could like be still, and I used to want to do the crazy fast flow, and then I learned to slow down, and I knew how much better I felt when I slowed down. And then, of course, I grew up in a small town, and my dad and my mom always gardened. So the other gateway drug for me was like food. I was like, I feel better when I eat real food.
Mm.
So obviously, most people who think of a health coach, they think food and exercise. But I think the biggest one is because we are so full of stress all the time. You know, when I started learning about cortisol and realizing that I was in adrenal fatigue when I was burnt out behind the chair, it got deeper and deeper and deeper the more I learned. I was like, okay, adrenal fatigue, what is that? Why do we have that? It's the cortisol. And then, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then it's our nervous system is overloaded and it's like stacked on top. And I'm like, where do you chip away at that iceberg? And it really came to me through yoga. And I learned from so many wonderful teachers. One is Alison Modafferi. She was so influential in my life when I first started my yoga journey. And there were so many, many others. One of my favorites is Liz Burkholder, which you know, and she's amazing. She does a hypno breathwork course, which I'm taking now because I've been on, you know, the following journey of her work. And it's just amazing to me that if you can get your nervous system to relax a little bit, if you can calm down, if you can just take a deep breath and listen to what your body really needs, then you can tune into your intuition, and then only you know what you need in that moment. And I love an intuitive eating program, which I actually have that program as one of my program options in my coaching. But a traditional intuitive eating program is not the same as what I do, because I'm like, let's get back to the bare bones, get baseline. Let's figure out where you are and take away all the extra. Let's stop getting bogged down and start from square one, which is the basics. The free thing that you can do for yourself is to move and breathe. And if you start there and you can do some somatic movements, if you can just shake it out, if you can just take some deep breaths in the car before you have like a crazy stressful moment, that I feel like you can start actually listening to your own knowing. And then you are the only one who knows what's good for you. Because everybody's like, oh, what do you teach? Do you do keto? Do you macro? And I'm like, girl, I can teach you all of that, but let's see what you need.
Well, I really appreciate that approach, because there are so many health coaches and I will say even registered dietitians that like come with this very rigid, like one size fits all kind of model. And they're like, okay, this is it. And you've got to follow it. And there are folks out there, and I speak, you know, for myself, that like, you know, once you kind of crack the code on who you are and how you like to move through the world, it doesn't always come in that same package that everyone else needs, right? Some people, intermittent fasting is the right path for them. Other people, no. Like, and so to have this approach that says, oh no, you need to eat at the same time every day. Energy levels are in flux for everyone. For each of us, we have unique ways of kind of using our energy throughout the day. And so knowing that about yourself, learning, we'll say, the skills to develop that knowing. That's the part that I'm hearing you're saying that you teach. And that sounds really powerful. And I resonate with you, of course, with the yoga piece, because that's the same way that I understood the yoga. At the beginning, I didn't understand any of the actual depth of it. That's kind of the path. You just do the yoga, right? But eventually you're like, wait, this is like a chance for me to kind of like slow it down and then like listen to what's there and listen to what my body is saying. And in that space where you can find a place to listen, so much can come through. And it sounds like that's what you're working with. It's like, okay, it might not be the yoga, but you're creating the space to allow your nervous system to come back to this regulated state so that you can kind of like listen in. You're like, okay, what are you trying to say, body? What are you trying to say, spirit? Like all these, you know, these parts of you kind of coming into focus, and then saying, okay, this is the next best choice for me. And here's some wisdom that Mandi can provide to me to align and encourage me in that direction. Not coming to say, okay, here is this model and mold that fits everybody. Now you need to conform to be that, which feels icky, I think, for most of us who are like really aspiring to move towards something that feels like more authentic living.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what happened to me every time I was given an assignment when it came to how to eat better, how to work out, and listening to what somebody else created, I would self-sabotage every time. I'm like, I know I'm not really supposed to eat this, but now I want it more.
Yeah, sneak eating. Yeah, yeah, I resonate.
Or I know I'm not supposed to have, or I know I'm supposed to go work out every day at this time, but I don't want to now. Like, I don't want to. And it's almost kind of like, you told me what to do, so now I don't want to do it.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of people do resonate with being told what to do, and they like an assignment, but still then, even if you say that you like an assignment and you're given these parameters, you still, it's nature, it's human nature to self-sabotage. So I'm kind of like, well, if you can do 80-20 of this, then let's go with that, because that's, it's consistency, not perfection, because we're not perfect.
Right. I
And
think
the more you try to be, the more you're going to self-sabotage.
exactly that the more you have these huge spikes in like, okay, things I'm doing so great, I'm doing so great, and then it's like I'm doing so awful, and then that like even has a way of impacting our own self. What's the word, like worth or value, or like feeling a little bit more down on ourselves because we've failed, like
Shame.
shame starts coming.
Shame.
That's the word. That's the word.
I always say shame is worse than sugar, because I do say sugar is one of the more toxic things that we can put in our bodies. But I don't want you to feel shameful about it. I want you to eat that dark chocolate or that really good muffin or whatever it is and say, I am purposely putting this in my body. I love myself. This is what I want right now. Do I need it? Not really, but I need it to
Mm.
fill this place. And that's okay. And I say shame is worse than sugar, because if everything is intentional and intuitive, then that shame goes away. It
I
feels less powerful.
Yes, yes. And I really love this approach. I want to talk more about this intuitive eating because there are some folks that maybe have never heard of it. And I love the idea, the essence of this. It's not saying like, don't do it, it's bad. It's saying, well, I'm going to make a conscious choice. But let's talk. Can you share a little bit more about what that means? Because there are people who don't even know what intuitive eating is.
So a lot of people think, and a lot of teachings are saying, okay, well, if you want to just eat pizza and ice cream all the time, if you're intuitively wanting that, then go for it. But that's not really what I teach. So what I do is, my intuitive eating program, for example, has 3 months, because it takes a while to create habits that stick. And every week has a new module. And sometimes there are 2 modules each week. But what I teach you first is basic knowledge about what it feels like to feel full and what real food is. And then I give you kind of like, everybody wants to know what macros are, people want to know what calories are. So I give you that education as knowledge, not as judgment. So if I'm like, most people, this weight, this height, need this many calories, and then we go by your, BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. I didn't really mean to get like super sciencey about this, but it does help people know, like, if you start a program, you kind of want to know some basics. You want the education. Some people really like that science stuff. Some people just want, like, tell me what to do. But I do feel like if you have the knowledge of like calories, macros, what foods are, what good foods are, why ultra processed foods are not good for us, then knowledge is power. And the more we know, the better we do. And I think that getting that information to our bodies and our minds first, and then I teach you how to feel into yourself with breath work and yoga and stillness and meditation and somatic movements. And then we move forward from there. And I think that the more we go through the intuitive eating program, the more you are like, so that bread isn't really what I wanted. I think it's what I want, because I call it, the Brene Brown calls it the shitty first draft. What we tell ourselves or what we make up about something. Sometimes it's that first draft of like, I want the bread and the cheese. Well, yeah, bread and cheese is good, right? But sometimes what we really want is something savory, like, oh, maybe you want like chicken and salsa, or maybe you want, some veggies, maybe you want a salad, maybe you want some soup. And so maybe like reconnecting to your breath and your body, and you're like, really what I want is something really nourishing right now, and not, a brownie.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I resonate with this. I love the notion of like that getting more knowledge and really filling the question of why something instead of like what to do. It's like, if I understand why I'm doing it, it comes to a deeper place. I now can make a choice that's consciously my choice and not just because Mandi said so, which is, it's funny. It's almost like we're going against what we've been conditioned. A lot of us, I'll say, have been conditioned to. It's like parents said, you just don't do this because yes, I said so. And so we have now evolved to this adulthood where we're like, you know what? I want to be my childlike nature. Like as children, we just have this natural, like, but why? But why?
Yeah.
I don't, why? Like, I want to know why. And sometimes our parents have kind of stifled that voice, or other people, caretakers have stifled that voice in us. And this is kind of reconnecting with it and allowing us to really have this information, this knowledge come to a deeper place where it becomes a knowing. That's like, I'm going to let this compass and this knowing guide me and not have it be because someone else told me I had to. And that's where I think like the beauty of shift and change happens, right? That transformation has a way of sticking when it's like, it's not because I am going to be Mandi's mold of something. It's like, no, like I've actually decided based on what I've learned, what I now know as mine, I identify as this is me and mine, my information, my choice. I can now make different choices. And like you said, like sometimes it is just being real with like, in this moment, I might be feeling an emotion that's causing me to reach for the candy bar, and that's okay. But also I can also connect with the fact that like my body might actually need something more. And so am I willing to like slow down and give it the more that it needs, like the actual nourishment that it needs. So I love this. I love this conversation. So when you talk to like women who are feeling super disconnected from their bodies and they're like, they've never even thought about this idea. It's like the doctor said to do this and that's all they do. It's like they take this prescription, they follow the rules, the regimen, but like, how do you start this process? Like, I'm feeling disconnected. How do I actually like say, okay, I want to be connected?
Oh my gosh. First of all, I have worked with clients that are literally just eating, McDonald's every day, which, that's one place. But I think the biggest part is meeting them where they are, because a lot of people hire me and they have no idea what they're getting into and they think I'm some kind of woo-woo weirdo, which I am. I am that. I am that, but I also am science minded. So I can meet people where they are. So it really just depends on who they are. And when we meet the very first time and we do a consultation within their program, then I ask all the questions. I'm like, what have you done before? Have you heard of breath work? What is your workout? What is your movement? Have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? Where is your mindset around food? And we do talk about what their big T or little t traumas around food have been in their past, because I've gotten clients that come to me and they have eating disorders. So I know to reel back some verbiage and we get rid of the good and bad words. And so it really honestly depends on the person, because you have to approach everybody differently. Like, you said something that triggered me truly, because that I told you so, or because I said so. I love my mother dearly. I'm sure she'll listen to this later, but she said that to me. And I remember, like, just because I said so when I was a teenager, but I'm like, but why? And it didn't matter why it for me or for her. Now I just do know that tone is such a big deal for me, because I want to make sure that because I said so isn't an answer for my coaching clients. If you want to know why we're doing this, this is why. I can show you research. I can show you the science. I can tell you why I think that, and then you can figure out why you resonate with that. So yeah, to answer your question, I have to come from a different place for everybody, because everybody's coming from a different place. Some people have never done yoga. Some people have never even exercised. Some people don't go to a gym. Some people have heard of macros, but have no idea what they are. So I really do have to come from what they have heard of first. So if they've heard of macros and calories, then we're like, okay, there's a place to start. Or if none of that and they just want to know when they feel full, I'm like, have you ever eaten too much and you're kind of uncomfortable? So let's talk about that, how that feels in your body. Does it feel good? Do you like that? Do you want to be able to stop when you're at a level 6 instead of a 10? So I can come at it from any direction depending on where people are.
I love it. I think it's great too to know that we're individuals and letting that individual nature come through, even in this place of what people think of as like, oh, it's all food, so we can all eat all the same bodies, but we're not. And I actually think that that's actually a really important place for us to tie in this hormonal conversation and women and their needs, because like, okay, we've got the human body, there's this one piece, but then we also then have our hormonal shifts and changes. And so what kind of brought you into to really, let's say, thinking about this hormonal piece? Because there are dietitians that are out there that don't think about this. There's even medical providers, medical professionals that don't ever even think about the fact that, oh, this woman potentially could be perimenopausal. There could be some hormonal shifts or changes happening for them. And so they miss, I believe, the mark. But what made you, or how did that kind of come to the forefront of your journey?
That goes back to the reinvention part. All of my children are about to move out of the house. They're all college age. Oldest two were 19. The youngest one was 16. And I'm like, everybody's about to move out. And I think I'm in perimenopause, which I was in perimenopause. And I had the biggest surprise of my life. I was 46 and found out I was pregnant with my now 4-year-old Olive. And I would go to the OB/GYNs and ask them these questions, and there were no answers. What do I do about this? And even before finding out about being pregnant with Olive, I'm going in like, okay, here are my symptoms. Here are my issues. What's going on? And they're like, oh, well, here are your choices. You can go back on birth control. You can have ablation surgery. You can have a hysterectomy. These will help. And I'm like, there's got to be more, right? I said, is there anything natural? And they're like, well, there is no research. And I'm like, I will find the research because I am your research girl. And so I started digging a little deeper. And then after, finding out I was pregnant with Olive, I even did a lot more research about the natural birth because I ended up having completely natural birth at home. It was right after COVID, and I wanted my doula and my husband to be in the hospital with me, and you could only have one person. And I had the kids. I wanted them to be able to visit me in the hospital. So I said, this isn't going to work for me. I'm going to make up my own plan. And I didn't reinvent that wheel, but I did create my own plan. And they could not, the doctors, all of them would always ask me, so you're 46, you did this naturally? I'm like, yes. Why is this so unusual? But yes, after having all of my hormones were all over the place, I had prediabetes, I couldn't lose the weight. I felt horrible. I was emotional. I was depressed, and no one could give me any answers. Well, you can go on HRTs once you're not breastfeeding anymore. And I get the HRTs are very necessary for some people, but I thought there's got to be a better way. So I started doing some research. I studied Aviva Romm, Sarah Gottfried, and several other people in their field, and they've been birth workers. They were obstetricians and gynecologists, and then they moved into the integrative holistic world, and I was obsessed with the research. I'm like, I am going to figure this out. There were so many things that I didn't even know. I had no idea. So that's where it all came from. And I said, I have got to share this knowledge. There's so much to know. And all my girlfriends were saying, oh, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? So I'm like, I know. I can tell you what we can do. So yes, that's how I started researching. That's how I took some classes. That's where it all started. And I'm like, once I know this stuff, I can't keep it to myself. I have to share it because I feel like we are so conditioned to this is the way. Mm-hmm. And that's not the only way. There's so much more out there. And so long story short, that's where it came from. Thank goodness for Olive and her surprise self. And now I can help women learn more about their bodies.
So powerful. And I mean, first of all, commending you, that I celebrate you for that, because that's like a huge feat. Like the idea of having another child after your kids are grown and you're counting down the days, years, till people are going off to school or leaving the home, flying the coop, as they say. Ready to release them into the wild, and you're like, oh, I've got a brand new one coming. That just takes a whole lot of courage. And so I'm excited that you even leaned into that. And then like taking the risk to say, you know what, like my body hormonally is already experiencing a lot, and to introduce this wave of other hormones that comes when you're, bringing another life into the world. Like it brings a whole other host of challenges. And so it's really wonderful that you continue to really get curious about ways that you can tend to your body, because it's not our bodies are designed for this. So it is a matter of like trying to crack your code. It's like, how can I work with my own body and its wisdom so that I can show up for myself in this and not continue to let myself be held back with the depression and other things just based off of my hormones not being regulated. And so I think it's really wonderful. And I love, yes, what you talked about, like having the approach of like letting this be something that people we've talked about this a lot, feel is digestible. Like, no pun on that, but like true. It's like, it's real. It's like you're learning something new with Mandi, and it's something that feels like information that you can actually digest. You can actually kind of store this knowledge and information instead of it kind of flying up here, which happens a lot in this world. I come from healthcare, right? So like my other side, I speak a lot up here. Like we love to do that in healthcare. We're just like why is that a thing when we're talking about like the human body and the human experience? It's like instead letting it be really approachable and come from a place of deep processing and understanding that allows us to then be stewards of ourselves and our own decision making moving forward. With all of that said, there are other things that you do or that you have done with your work that has made it also very accessible. Will you talk a little bit about that and ways that you support your clients? You mentioned some things about modules and like, sessions and things. Tell us a little bit about how you have kind of crafted your model to be a bit more accessible in nature.
Well, the biggest thing is I feel like there's an accountability piece that people are really searching for. So in my personal practice with my private one-on-one coaches and in my group sessions, people get the accountability piece. I mean, not only do they get to meet with me every single week and have to see me in person and, talk about, I mean, it's life coaching. I did life coaching before I ever even decided to be a health coach, but then health spoke to me because I felt like that was a way to get in with people. So we meet once a week, all of my coaching clients, to talk for 45 minutes about what's going on with them, because truly, we talk about food for a little bit during that meeting, but we really talk about what's going on. Because I went to IIN, and for those of you who've been to IIN, they do talk about the primary foods, which really speak to me, because you can eat broccoli and, take all your vitamins and do all the right things. But if your life outside of what you're eating is falling apart, it does not make a difference, because all of this affects all of this. So, we do need to talk about like what's going on with your work. We need to talk about what's going on in your relationships. We need to talk about what's going on with you spiritually, or your kids, or, your physical movement, or any of those things. We need to talk about that, and we need to get in there. And my practice with my meetings, they start with a little bit of breathing. And if we need to take a minute and we just need to do some breath work for your entire 45-minute once a week session, then that's what we do, because we don't want to skip that. Like you said, everybody thinks it's all up in your head. It's all science. It's all, what are you eating? Here's your meal plan. Here's your workout. But truly, if we don't get down into our bodies, and again, I love the gut brain connection metaphor, because it really is a thing. If you're not listening to your gut, if you're not listening to your body, then all the other stuff doesn't matter. It all falls away. And so my specific coaching is all about getting those primary foods taken care of first, and the food and the exercise and the other stuff comes second.
I feel that it's very valuable, the accountability piece, and recognizing that, like, really having that support to and in co-navigation, right? It's like, I just need you to be there, be alongside me. And like, when I need to pause, like, cause sometimes that's all it is. It's like life is happening. You're doing all the right things, you're supposedly checking all those boxes, but have you even given yourself a moment just to breathe and to be recognizing the power in that can sometimes only come from other people, right? Like we can think we're doing all the right things, but you see someone else and they're like, hey, just take a deep breath with me. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, why does that feel so transformational in this moment? It's probably because it's been weeks since I've done that. And so I think it is really valuable to have someone that can walk the path with you and take the journey with you. And so I'm grateful that you've done that. And so when we talk a little bit about your ways that you support people, and like how is it that you are able to help people bring about this change? Is it like they come in and they're like with you for a little while and then they kind of graduate? Like tell us a little bit about that, like, evolution in the process for people.
Well, I mean, everybody comes to me in a different path, obviously, but my programs are set up to be, 3-month programs. But now I've introduced my membership option where people can do a monthly membership. So after they're done with a program, if they still need that little bit of support, they have access to the app that we use. And that means they can log their food, their mood, their exercise, their water, their sleep, all the things. And then they get to message me because within that app, there's messaging. And then there's still modules that you can follow. And a lot of my work, I always send out affirmations. There's always like a little breath work in there. There's some yoga moves, but it's just a simple way to stay in touch with somebody who can hold your hand when you're having those dips. Because we all do, we're not going to be perfect all day, every day. And I like to see people go from 0 to 100 during their program, and then they're done. And that's so great, but it's still a journey, right? Health is not, okay, we're done. It's a journey. You're going to have, a death in the family, or you're going to have a vacation, or you're going to have something that happens to you, career change, where you're like, oh my gosh, I've gone off my path. I'm not doing my exercises. I'm not doing my meditation. I'm not eating right anymore. And having those check-ins and having that regular person, again, going back to the accountability piece, to say, hey, you're doing great. Take a deep breath. We're going to keep going. And here's a meal plan that could help you through this time that's a little bit more simple. Here's some exercises that are only 10 minutes that could help you get through this time that you're too busy to work out on a regular basis. So I feel like the monthly membership is a really great addition to my work now, because I feel like that gives people a very affordable way to access the support.
Oh yeah. I really appreciate too that it's like, all right, we've gotten, this idea that, we get to the finish line and they're like, well, what do we do now? Like, I'm done with this. I've graduated, got to that highest level of accomplishment in this journey. And then what do we do? Right. Instead, it's like this ongoing support. And even it sounds like a level of community and kind of a kind of continued co-imagining of how you can move through life and its challenges. Like to your point, like grief has a way of wiping us out and changing, shifting the ways that we eat, the ways that we move through life and regulate in all the ways, right? And then other life challenges with work, with children coming at 46, right? Like things that can completely,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Surprise, life is here. Like with this new fun challenge of anything, introduce anything into the mix, and it feels like that accomplishment, that arrival place that you made it to is kind of a thing of the past. And instead it's like, no, let's be in this space. You have this new information, you've taken this journey with Mandi, you now have an opportunity to continue kind of co-imagining what's possible with this new challenge or this new space of spaciousness. Like maybe it's like, I'm in a new place in my life where I've got so much more time. I can actually cook food at home. You go from like, how do I live off of ordering? Like you mentioned, someone who's living off of fast food, right? And it's like, after you're living off of fast food, like, okay, well, you're still maybe going through a season of ordering everything or using meal prep stuff because you don't have time, but maybe you're in a new season where you have time and you want to play with some recipes and prepping food on your own. And that's a whole other place that you get to be in. That doesn't mean you have to kind of redo the journey, but instead continue it from there. Right. And so I love the idea of membership. That just feels cool. And then, so who is it for? Like, if you think of like someone that is like an ideal person that you would recommend to take this journey with you, what would that person look like or people look like?
Well, for the membership, I think it's for everybody. If you want to just dip your toe into trying out some wellness, if you just don't know where you need to be or what you want to do, but you need something, even if it's just that little bit of accountability, I think the membership is perfect for everybody. Or if it's somebody who's already been to a dietitian or is working out or they're bodybuilding or whatever, I feel like a membership is really great for that. Now, my 3 other programs I have that are amazing. One is a weight loss intensive, which is a really great program if people's number one, very top, I need to take care of this right now, is weight. because sometimes that's a hurdle for a lot of people to even want to go to the gym or to do anything. So I feel like that's sometimes people's very first hurdle. And so the weight loss intensive is a 6-week program, and it is intense. We do a lot really fast in that 6 weeks, but then I ease you over the next 4 weeks back into life. So you're not like, a lot of weight loss programs are like, all right, you've lost your weight. See ya.
Exactly.
No, you get support for another 4 weeks through the app. And then after that, you can still do the membership, which is really great. And then I have my very special, true to my heart, hormone balancing program that's for my ladies, usually between 38 and 65, because I do have some people who are in their older hormonal years and they are still like, what the hell do I do? How do I get to a baseline? What is gonna, what do I do now? And at 38, people are just kind of stepping in like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I cannot believe I'm already in perimenopause. What do I do? So that's a really great program for that group. And then the intuitive eating program is for anyone and everyone. I've had guys that are bodybuilding join the intuitive eating program because they just want the back end education on listening to their body, because they've been told to do, carnivore and keto so they can bodybuild, and they just want to know what their body really needs in that moment. And then I've had people with eating disorders do the intuitive eating where they're like, I'm too thin. I don't know how to feed myself. I'm in square one. Just help me figure myself out. So that's what I have. And that's kind of encompasses just about everybody. But of course, everybody's like, you need a niche. Well, instead of creating a niche, I created programs that fit each type of personality.
It's true. And where they are in their life's journey, like you said, I mean, it might be bodybuilding now, and then I'm, my hormonal journey later. And so that feels like a really, I think that's a great mix and in a lot of ways to support people. And you don't have that barrier of like, I need to fit this mold so that again I can be Mandi's client. Instead, I need to eat, I need to fuel my body, I hope to have a better life experience. And so Mandi can help me do that. And these different ways that you offer that support feels really good. So I feel like there's so much that we've talked about today that feels like this kind of all-encompassing place for people, and we've talked about ways that they can start. Can you kind of like distill it down to like, if I am hearing this today and like I've always had trouble with diets and these like new lifestyle things, like what is the one message that you have for someone who's just like, I want to make a change, don't know what it is, like what do you think is that like call that you would invite them to, that action?
Oh gosh. I feel like the very first thing is that everybody should stop listening to what everybody else tells them. Slow down and start listening to yourself. Create the space that you need however you can, whether it's through your meditation, through your, prayer, through your, yoga practice, through whatever your thing is, and slow down and listen to yourself and just block it all out for whatever it is, 5 minutes, where you can really get truly into you and say, what is it that I need to get started on my path to wellness?
That's good. I feel like, you answered my question I was going to ask later already, which is the one message, like amplifying one message. What would it be? Because I feel like that just is a powerful one, just to listen to yourself and learn how to listen to yourself. And if that's something that you need support with, Mandi is here. Mandi is here to support you in all the different phases, it seems like, of life. And, the curveballs that life throws you. I feel like, Mandi, you caught that curveball at 46. You definitely qualify as someone who could support anyone through moments of these big surprises that come out of nowhere, come out of left field. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It's been a really great conversation. Thank you for reminding us that wellness is not about perfection and that it's really about presence. It feels like that's the essence of everything that you've shared today, and the willingness to begin again and again and again if necessary, right? It's like start over. Feels really, really powerful. And think your journey has been one of resilience and truth and rebirth. And it feels like something that can be, I think, a great guide and support for folks who are looking at restarting a relationship with themselves, with food, with wellness, and just navigating this life in a way that feels more aligned for them personally. How can people find you? I would love to make sure they can get connected to Miss Mandi online and all the other places.
First of all, I want to say thank you for doing all the work that you do in this wellness world and the healing world. And I just love that you are sending that message out to all people to take care of themselves, and you're doing this podcast. So that's really, really great. And I love that. But to find me, my website is rootedholisticwellness.com. You can always reach out to me at rootedholisticwellness@gmail and, book a free consultation. It's so easy. And even if I'm not the right fit for you, I am all about that too. I can point you in the right direction. I know so many people in this world of healing and wellness and, fitness that I can send you to if I'm not the right person, because I would also love to be your right person. So yeah, come and check me out.
We share this really, I believe, really important quality, which is one that is recognizing that community can be so powerful and is the essence of true support for people. And so the fact that I just want to echo what Mandi just said, which is that if she's not the solution, the thing that you need in this moment, she is great at connecting you. We're both connectors naturally. And so it just feels really great to know that you're not coming to someone who's going to be like, I'm going to try to fit myself in to be your solution. And instead it's going to be like, no, actually, I don't think that's where you are right now. And let me introduce you to someone else that can help you along on your journey. So thank you so much, Mandi.
Thank you, Jasmine. I was so glad to speak with you.
Thank you. Have a great day. And I will, you guys, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to connecting again. I am excited that you continue to come back. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and do that. Follow it, like it, rate it, do all those things. And you can continue to find us on the socials. That is Mindfully Amplified, or Amplified by Jasmine on the socials is my personal. Thank you so much.